Welcome back, my friends, to the podcast that never ends. Yes, this is the Blue Day podcast, and for Chelsea fans everywhere, every day is a blue day. I am your host, Keith Lawrence, and this summer the podcast has been on a world tour talking to different Chelsea supporters groups, and this week we are talking to Rustam of the Chelsea Prague supporters group. Rustam, how are you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Doing well. It's Friday tomorrow, so excited. You? How are you?
I know I'm good, as you say. Friday tomorrow, geared up for the weekend, opening weekend of the season as well. So it's not too bad of a.
Yeah, you don't say. Meeting Frank.
Yes, the Frank Lampard derby as well. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, we have a better result than what we had last time we went to Goodison Park.
Well, I don't know. Is it bad to say for a Chelsea fan? But I was kind of supporting Everton back then and during that game because Lampard actually needed those points to stay in the Premier League, and we were doing pretty good for the Champions League spot. So I was happy that he actually got all 3 points, and stayed in the league. Saved his job.
You've been on the show for 30 seconds and already you've divided opinion. Brilliant.
Sorry, not sorry. I love Frank. This is the player who actually married me to the game.
Right, I see. Was it him sort of when he came in as a midfielder? Was it that era of him, Drogba, Terry, and Cech that got you into Chelsea, or was it a bit earlier than that?
He got me into football. Personally,
football in general, right? I see.
Yeah, my dad, he's fond of football and he watches it every week in different leagues and so on. When I was a kid, I didn't really like football. I was a volleyball guy, a tennis guy, not football. And I would be rather playing than watching. But I just remember sitting in the room when Dad was watching some other football game. And I was, playing, but glancing once, twice, just to the screen. And I was like, I asked my dad, like, who's that guy? He plays well, like, long shots and then like long passes and everything. Pretty impressive. I was like, no, well, the English lad, Frank Lampard, is his name. I was like, okay. So maybe next time when that guy is playing, you can ask me, like, you can tell me, and I can watch him play. So I didn't know it was Chelsea. I didn't know it was anywhere like in England. So next time Frank Lampard plays, can you tell me? We're like, all right. And he forgot about that completely, right? Weeks later, maybe months later, he was just passing my room. Was like, oh, yeah, you remember you were asking me about the Frank Lampard guy? Yeah, so he's on now, if you'd like. I was like, okay, sure. I can do my stuff in that room where there's a TV and I can watch him play. And that's how it started, firstly just because of Frank. And then I was like, okay, he plays for Chelsea. I'm going to watch Chelsea games. And probably for that year, I only watched Chelsea games. Like I was not much into football yet. I just enjoyed what was happening on the pitch with those players. And then when it's already, obviously it kicked in more, like you started watching more Premier League, then you just started watching more everywhere, everything. Like you're actually going to football games and stuff like that. So it's Frank Lampard who did that to me.
Wow. Great story. And that must have been quite cool for you to see Frank as he developed at Chelsea, became a serial winner, won Premier Leagues. That must have really sort of got your interest going, as you say, to become a Chelsea supporter. Was it, as you say, because of Frank that you became a Chelsea supporter and you was able to watch Chelsea weekly basis in that era?
Yeah, 100%. I'm relatively young, so I started watching. Like this all happened already in early Abramovich era. So I'm originally Ukrainian and I was raised in Ukraine. And obviously they started airing Chelsea games after Roman bought the club. So I had this chance also because of Abramovich and then with Lampard. And I just started going for once and twice. And then years later, I remember I watched the Champions League final, the Moscow Champions League final. I watched it in the cinema as a kid. It was awful, I must say, awful. Yeah, I was crying my eyes out, but it's part of life.
That was a horrible night. I remember that vividly. That was one horrible night, but we made up for it twice, so it's not all bad. What would you say though would be your number one moment that you've experienced as a Chelsea supporter? I'm assuming it would be something to do with Frank.
No, I'm assuming it would be something to do with the Champions League, because there are two finals, as you just mentioned, which we won. And actually, I was at the one at Porto against City, and it was the first game after COVID, after the whole year with with empty stands, and I was able to go there, and I was there, and I was singing all the chants for Man City. You'll never sing that. And but basically, this this is one of the best moments in my life, not even connected to football. But I must say that winning the first Champions League in 2012, even though I was not there in the stadium, was probably even greater, because it was the first Champions League, and it was, it was still those players who deserved it as no one did, and they probably had their last chance, and they did it. And in Munich against Bayern, when the game was almost lost. So I must go for 2012 Champions League final.
Superb. Just sort of hear them sort of stories. And as you say, you was there front and centre for the recent Champions League win against Man City. That must have been superb memories for you to when that final whistle blew and Chelsea players running onto the pitch, and we just beat Man City 1-0 with a brilliant goal by Kai Havertz. You can't erase those sort of memories, can you?
No, you can't, Keith. And I'm also, to tell you the truth, that was probably the longest 10 minutes of my life, or around those 10 minutes. I don't know, it felt like eternity. Because obviously, also on the stadium, you don't see what time is at it, right? And you don't see how the seconds flow away. So you're just constantly looking at your phone, looking at the pitch, at everybody next to you, and everyone is excited, everyone is nervous, and you could feel the tension in the air. You could see the sparks in there before the whistle. The whistle just gave a massive relief.
So you've been to the Champions League final, which not many people can say, so fair play to you on that. Have you had many experiences going to Stamford Bridge as well, watching Chelsea at home?
No, unfortunately not. As I told you earlier, as Ukrainian, growing up, I didn't have, I had to get a visa and everything. I only could go with parents, so it was a trouble. I did actually go with my mom back in, I probably picked the wrong date, because I was in London for 2 weeks, and I went to Stamford Bridge, the stadium museum and the stadium tour, the same week when we lost to Barca in the semi-finals on the Champions League. So I was not on that game, but I was in London. And as you can imagine, I also can't, never forget the Evreber situation. So that's when I was the only time I was in London, the only time I was in Stamford Bridge. However, I do travel to almost all Champions League and Europa League away games for Chelsea. So I would be starting with Ukraine, Hungary, Italy, France, Czech Republic as well, Sweden. Netherlands. I've been there a lot. So because I don't need a visa to travel inside the European Union, and it's pretty easy for me. But for the UK, even now, I need to apply for a visa. So.
Wow. So as you say, you've been there when we've been on a European tour in the Europa League and the Champions League. What would you say has been the best stadium that you've seen?
The away stadium, obviously. You mean?
Oh, yes.
Don't know about the stadium, but I'll tell you that the support of Eintracht Frankfurt fans really was impressive. I did not expect that, because the problem is that this stadium is located outside of the city. And when you arrive on the train, there is a shortcut for local fans. And as an away fans, you have to go 40 or 30 minutes through the forest to get to the, they just leading you the whole other way, and you're making the hook in the forest to get there. So we were really pissed off, and we started, we were just sitting chants why is your stadium in a fucking forest? Sorry for my language.
No, that's all right.
It was like that. But the support inside was impressive. The performance they had, they stood, it was packed. They stood for, from the first whistle to the last, not just the opposite stand, but the whole stadium. They all were black and white, and they had like massive screens hanging in the middle of the stadium. So yeah, I was pretty good impressions out of that. I must say, yeah.
And what would you say has been the worst experience travelling to see Chelsea on a European night?
The worst experience. Well, it depends if you talk about football or what's around
Go with
football.
both. We'll go with both. We'll
Like,
say about result, or we'll talk about the actual sort of trip itself.
yeah, so first of all, it was a horrible night in Kiev with zeros. I guess, one of either the first or one of the first times I saw Chelsea live. Somewhere, so 2014, 15, somewhere, I don't know, somewhere there. And it was 0-0, and it was so boring. It was one of the most boring games ever. And it was Chelsea playing Dynamo. Like, it was not Bayern or someone else. It's horrible, but it was a great atmosphere, and there's a huge stadium in there. There's like around 80,000 supporters, something like that. It was not packed, but it was still impressive. But what goes to around football, it was Juventus. Last season, was it like last season, I guess.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah,
it's because of the police. I mean, the Italian police made the experience for all the fans, for all the away fans, just terrible.
Right.
Usually in different countries, like Malmo, we went to Malmo this season, and it was awesome. Everybody was welcoming, people, the police, everyone was excited for the game, and it was really friendly from everywhere. But unfortunately, in Italy, it was all the way around, and we had like me personally, and different people I saw, they had some confrontations with the police, and it wasn't that good. So for obviously, for when you go for football, for a away game especially, is it's a celebration. Like, you're all excited, you're all happy, you're like, you don't want any troubles, neither for the city where you're going, because you're exploring as well, but also for yourself, you're just having fun. And yeah, it shouldn't come to this confrontation. How it comes sometimes, how it happens.
Did you have any luck in getting a ticket for the Europa League final in Baku?
Honestly, I think that I could get a ticket, because as you can see, I travel a lot.
Yes.
And but I didn't really. I mean, I wanted to see Arsenal humiliated, but I didn't really want to spend that much money, that much time to go to Baku, because
Right.
Baku is all the way far there. The tickets were expensive. The accommodation for that week, it just raised like 3 times compared to a regular week. I know there were actually fans who were driving to Baku. But I imagine you're an Arsenal fan and you drive all the way to Baku, and you got demolished in the final, and there is Giroud thanking you on the video, kissing the cup and so on. No, it was terrible. No, I figured, like, come on, it's Chelsea playing Arsenal, and this game is huge, yes, but you can see it in London. You don't need to fly 6,000 kilometers is there to Baku. Spent a fortune, and it's Arsenal. Who's gonna win, so it's a fact anyway. But I must tell you that I was terrified before the Champions League final in Porto, not because of Man City being our opponent, but because the final should have been in Turkey, in Istanbul, and it's not a problem for me to go there. Not visas close enough and pretty cheap, so it's all good. And then 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, 3 weeks, 2 weeks before the game, they decided, because of COVID, they decided not to have the final in Istanbul, and they decided to move it. And there was a point where no one knew where to, and there were 2 stadiums or 2 cities who applied, London and Porto. So for London, it was, it makes so much sense, and I understand why the local fans must be pissed off and the teams must be pissed off with the decision, because there was 2 English teams in a European Cup final, which, due to COVID and mass pandemic in the world, cannot fly somewhere else. Just let them play inside, right, in England. I was terrified. I was like, I need a visa there, and I have no chance to do a visa in like 2 weeks' notice and buy a ticket. And like even to buy a ticket in England for the Champions League final, oof, that's gonna be a competition.
Yeah, good
So
luck with that.
I was so relieved with Porto, man. I was like, but it was very hard to get it anyway. But I was so relieved that it was in Porto that I actually had the chance. So for me, it was not a matter of money anymore. You know, it happens once in a lifetime, and especially in these circumstances, the whole season, there were no fans on the stadiums. And the last one, actually, I had tickets for a game against Bayern Munich, and it was the first one to be cancelled. Like no, not the game, but the fans not to be
Yes,
allowed
that's
for
right.
shows.
Yeah.
And those tickets, you know, went to hell. And then you wait another year. And then the first time you can get to the stadium is your team playing in the Champions League final. Oh, man, you're going there. I mean, it's as easy as that. I'm usually travel with friends or with my girlfriend. But that time, I flew alone because it was not possible to get a lot of tickets. And I was like, no, heck it. I'm flying alone. I'll find my mates in there anyway. All the hostels everywhere were packed with Chelsea fans. So
Brilliant. Well, now I know who to turn to if I need an away ticket. I shall remember you for next time. But I want to talk about the supporters club now. And in regards to the Prague Blues, when did it start and why was it created?
okay, so we have very young supporters club here. We just started. So we had our official first season, previous season. I thought about creating a club earlier, and I think I even applied earlier, but due to COVID, there was not much of, everything was closed, basically, bars, stadiums. So there was no motivation to do that right now because you actually cannot leave your apartment. And we had a pretty strict lockdown here in Prague. So I implied, we had this conversation with the club and so on, but we actually started going and meeting last season, but through the whole season. So how it started is, as again, mentioning for the third time, Ukrainian. Alex, I'm pretty sure you know Alex Lutsenko, who's the head of Ukrainian Supporters Club.
Yes, he's been on the show.
Yep. So Alex and Sergey, who's also in the Ukrainian Supporters Club, they created it way earlier in Ukraine, and I was a part of it. I used to live in Ukraine, and I used to go out with the guys, and we would support together. And then I moved to the Czech Republic, which was around 7 years ago, 6.5 maybe. I'm still in contact with the Ukrainian Supporters Club constantly. I'm like in all the chats and everything. But then I realized, okay, I can't hang out and go watch games with them every single week. And I'm still doing it here. And I know that there are people here who support Chelsea, who love Chelsea, especially, not only because it's a huge club, but Petr Cech obviously raised a lot of Chelsea supporters in the country. So it's like, I might give it a try and also create something what Alex did, maybe on a smaller scale, because obviously Czech Republic is a smaller country and Prague is not that large of a city, but it still has 1 million people living here. So I was like, there definitely should be Chelsea supporters in here. I tried with the Fifth Stand app. There was an official supporters club, or there is an official supporters club. I tried contacting them. They were not responsive, not active at all. I saw that in the chat, like nothing was happening there. So I texted the club directly. And I got the response. We already have a supporters club in your city. It's like, okay, but could you please try contacting them? Like, have you heard anything from them in the last couple of years? It's like, okay, give us some time, please. We'll check. And then the club came back to me saying, yeah, they're not responsive. So you can go on and create the club again in Prague. You'll just need to use another name than they do. So I was like, okay, Prague Blues, it's right there. It's on the surface. Like basically it was Alex who inspired me. Being a part of this culture in Ukraine, put it into my head that, if there is nothing here, why are we missing on this? Because we actually can get together and we're in Europe, so we can travel, we can go to games, we can, hang out together. And that's basically how I did it. So it's as easy as that. And then just social media. Hey, folks, anyone who's supporting, there are some smaller groups of people who support Chelsea who just, hang out, 10 of them, 15 of them here, 10 of there, like in different bars. So it's just like social media. hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, come together. And we have a very international supporters club here. I think like officially we're a bit above 100, maybe 130, 140 people. But out of them, I think we have at least 20 different nationalities. Because a pretty cosmopolitan city here, and when you come to the pub with us, you could hear at least 3-4 languages in the same tables, because people would be speaking obviously Czech, English, Russian, Ukrainian, Slovak. People from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Russia, and they all speak different languages, and there will be a group of people who speak Russian together, there will be a group of people who speak Czech, and there will be a group of people who speak English to everybody.
Did you notice the popularity grow quite quickly within the group? Because as you say, as it's cosmopolitan and because of the area, there must have been quite a few Chelsea fans thinking, oh, this is quite close to me, I'll join in. Did you notice the numbers increase?
No, obviously, as I said, we're like very, very young when we started. Obviously, I called like my friends who already knew, who already watched game together. So we got like a number to 15 or 20, like in 2 days, 3 days. Then social media and everything, and it grew up to, let's say, 80 pretty rapidly. And then it would have stayed probably on the same level, 80, 90, from time to time. Then the Champions League, and you can see, 10 more people joined. Then you see, someone just saw you in the bar. You like, they probably sit there, they're shy, but they see that as a huge Chelsea company. So I stand up, I go to them, folks, you support Chelsea? Yes. So we have an official supporters club. You can find us on the 5th stand, the Chelsea app. Join, let's go, let's watch together, don't be shy. And yeah, that's obviously people are joining more and more. I'll tell you more, there are people who are coming to different places as well, and they're aware of us, we're aware of them, and we're always happy to see each other and to join. It's just, people who have a tradition of the last 10 years going to the same pub where they already have their seat, we already have the bartender maybe supporting Chelsea as well, so they would put it there, so they have their spot. So we know each other, we're always welcome to see each other, but we probably hang out in different places as well, because the one which we selected for ourselves is pretty new, but we had the conversation with the owner, and they put like the official Chelsea supporters club meeting place on the doors. So I brought the Champions League final flag to that place. They hanged it. They have our tables reserved, booked for every Chelsea game, and it's gonna be on air. So we have it figured with them.
And for you guys in Prague in particular, what would a typical match day be like? As you say, what time would you go to the pub? Obviously, depending on the game, and would you sort of put on certain bits, whereby you'd sort of, make the atmosphere a little bit better? Would you maybe do certain food or something like that, depending on what type of game it was?
No, we try to watch every single game together. Obviously, the numbers vary. Sometimes it will be, I don't know, like 10 people, coming to a game. Sometimes it might be 25, 30, whatever, depending on the game. Obviously, most of the fans, because as I just said, different cultures, different people, men, women, some people work, some people study, and so on. So most of the people, of course, will come for bigger games, and of course, they'll come probably right before the game, like 5-10 minutes before the game. It's kind of European approach. We, as a core group, we would probably do a bit differently. We would come, for us, it's a match day. So even though it's not in Prague, you'd come earlier to the pub. Maybe you can watch some Premier League game before that. You got, pub culture is pretty big in Prague. So you got like various beers, darts machine or pool. So you'll do that. So it's kind of, it's not 2 hours for a game for us. It's like probably 6, 7, 8. You don't know. Like, also depending on the result, right? If it's a good result, if it's the big game, don't wait me home.
Superb. In terms of the actual supporters group, do you get much contact from Chelsea in terms of whether access to tickets or merchandise? Do you have any sort of interaction with them on a regular basis?
I do have an interaction with them more or less on a regular basis, mostly when I need something. But with the merchandise packs, unfortunately, it didn't work because of the COVID. They postponed it. They postponed it a couple of times because of the COVID. Then they promised they'll deliver it by the end of the season. And then I got notification that first, due to the COVID, they didn't have any signing sessions. After that, when they finally could afford it, they had to first of all fulfill the contractual obligations, because some sponsors you have contracts, you need to provide some merchandise and stuff like that. So they were not able to send their merchandise to us and to other supporters club as well during this season. Sorry, but what they did is they offered. I'm pretty sure you know that they offered a video message from a player saying a couple of words for the supporters club and so on. So it should be delivered during this season. That is what is in place now. But we have fun traveling for the games, and we have fun finding team during the walk in the city or maybe next to the hotel. So personally, I have the whole wall of signed merchandise. So I like T-shirt, like jerseys, starting with the Zola or Terry, and finishing now with the latest, like with the Jorginho, Tuchel. Actually, after the Champions League final, there was a situation. Okay, so I after the final, I went out and I went straight to the hotel where the team stayed, and I knew the hotel where they stayed because on the official website they posted a video about the eagle working in the hotel and scaring the birds away when people have breakfast and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's pretty easy to Google. Porto, hotel, eagle, some storyline. This is this hotel, okay? As a stalker, professional. I went there and I saw a Sky Sports team there, and they said to us, they received a call. They said to us, "Hey, folks, the team is not coming. They're going to the party straight away." Okay, fair. Do you know where the party is? Yes, we do. So okay, we're taking a cab. We're following the Sky Sports team to the party place, and then obviously the bus with the players goes inside through the gates. No one lets us in, but then like people start gathering around, having party outside, and then players' families start arriving, like one by one, and the player would come to the gates saying, "Oh yes, this is my wife. Please open the gates." And when the players come out, and it was the season we bought Werner. This was the season we bought Mendy. This is like latest acquisitions, and we won the Champions League final the same year. And after the Champions League final, the same night, I got Werner signature, Mendy, Pulisic, Havertz as well, latest acquisition, and the goal scorer in the Champions League final. I was happy as anyone could be. So yeah, I have quite a collection, I'd say. I'm pretty proud of it.
Fantastic. Don't ever lose that. That's a brilliant story. If anybody's interested in joining the group in Prague Blues, how would they go about in joining?
I'd say, obviously there are some social media, right? But I'm not quite a fan of social media, if I could say. I'm not even on Instagram personally. But there is the easiest way is the Fifth Stand app. And in the Fifth Stand app, you have all the information. You got my phone number, you got our social media, you got our pub and the street address of our pub, and there is a chat, so you can just follow if we're going or not. And basically we're going every week. So the easiest thing is to find us either on Chelsea website or Fifth Stand app, Prague Blues. We're right there, and you got everything covered.
Brilliant. Now, you've said some fantastic stories about your time watching Chelsea live and then getting some signatures of some top players. But what's your thoughts on the current Chelsea at the moment? We're a few days now between the start of the season. We've got Everton away. Tuchel's brought in some players so far, but there still seems to be a little bit missing, in my opinion. But what's your thoughts on the current Chelsea at the moment?
Yeah, you remember I was 30 seconds in the podcast. I already divided opinions, so it's probably time to do that again now.
Time to do it again, yeah. It's a bit overdue.
I love Chelsea. I want to see us win. I want to see us winning the Premier League finally. It's been a while now.
It has, yes. It has been a while.
However, I do believe that there is still a gap between us, City and Liverpool. And as you just mentioned, we do still lack a couple of players. And as you can see in all the transfer news, we're not always, this season especially, we're not always able to get exactly who we want. All those sagas with Rafinha, Koundé and so on. So it's getting pretty tricky. And we know that we need still defenders. We'll probably need someone in the attack. Midfielder would be nice as well. And you can see all the rumors going, Lewandowski, gone, Barca. Now they're talking today, I read the news about Aubameyang, because coming back. It's like, you can see that, okay, in Barca he showed himself pretty well, and he knows Tuchel. They used to work together in Borussia. But we saw Aubameyang in Arsenal as well, right? I don't know if it was the attitude, but he only scored against us. If you remember the game, we got kicked out in the from the cup because of Aubameyang, but it didn't impress me overall. So I'd say actually Spurs, as much as I have the hate to say it, they're not close to winning, obviously, but they got good coach now. They got good signings. There also might be a threat as a team. So will not be an easy season. And obviously, I hope for it to be better than the previous ones. But I'd say that our rightful spots right now, at the moment, with the players we have, is second, third, somewhere there. But it doesn't stop us from winning the Champions League. It's a cup competition, and you shouldn't be the strongest one or the fastest one to win it. You just need to be, the best one, and who's there better than Chelsea?
Exactly. End that on a positive. Finally, Rustam, what does Chelsea Football Club mean to you, and what are your predictions for this forthcoming season? Sort of, how do you see certain players performing, and do you think we could apart from the Champions League, do you think we could have another good cup run and league terms?
No, absolutely. Like talking about cups, look at our cup runs the last several years. We lose in finals, unfortunately, but we do get there. 3 times in a row, I guess. Was it?
Yep. Please don't bring that up. But yes.
3 times in a row. I mean, it's still impressive. Yes, you don't win, unfortunately, but it shows that the team can fight, can get there, and we're not getting worse than we were. No, we lost a couple of good players. We bought a couple. Like Sterling is a dark horse, as they say, because he might have an amazing season because he has motivation now, and he's been playing for Liverpool and for City, and he's got Premier League experience, and he has a lot of he can bring a lot of goals as well. But you need to fit in. You need to see. We'll need to see how it works, because the goal he scored on the preseason is good for confidence, but it was not really performed good shot and good. Well, the ball wasn't in the net. That's probably the only thing which matters. So I hope it goes there the same way. And we still are not sure how our attack will look like. Who's gonna support Havertz up front? Is Werner leaving? Is he not? Is Pulisic or Ziyech leaving? Like a lot of unstables there. So constants there, which I cannot predict, obviously. But what I know is we will be there. We'll be supporting in the pub every single week, and away on the Champions League nights. We will be there for sure. That's we're not gonna miss.
Brilliant. Well, I will hold you to that in terms of a ticket, but I appreciate that. Rustam, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Hopefully we'll see you down at the bridge one day supporting the mighty Chelsea. If not, I'll have to get you a ticket as a thank you. But enjoy your weekend, and hopefully we will see you back on the podcast quite soon as well.
Oh, happy to be here, and thanks a lot for listening to a couple of podcasts and I previously, and I was wondering if I ever get to be here. So yeah, it's a nice day to remember. But thanks again.
It will not be the last time. Rustam, all the best.
All right, you too. Thank you.